So, but I think there's a segue here that another way of looking at innovation has something to do with first principles. Okay. Are you familiar with the philosophy and the terminology around first principle?
Let's start with it. There are a few first principles.
Yeah, let's start with this one. What do we mean with first principle, and what do you think that is all about? And we can, because we have an Elon Musk.
Yeah, we have our preferred version, but I'm sure you have yours.
But what is first principle to you, if you have heard about that before?
Well, if you look at it, okay, so make sure that you address the hardest part first. Okay, so if this is the most crucial assumption you have on for this to work or not, let's prove or disprove that it's true. Mm. Is that what you mean too?
Well, it's in the neighborhood, but we are a slightly different angle, I guess.
I think one way to phrase it is that it's so many people that are afraid to go against the norm.
Yeah.
If you know that you should do cancer treatment in a certain way, you will continue to think this is the proper way to do it, and to say something different is really dangerous, and people don't dare to do so. But to have the courage, so to speak, of saying, let's look at the first principle, physical or business or technical or whatever kind of principle it is, and really think, what is it we're trying to do? And we usually give this Elon Musk and SpaceX kind of example, saying, if you want to, go to the moon, or as he wants to go to Mars and build a colony there, how do you build a rocket? Well, normal way of doing it is you build a rocket and you throw it away, and you have to build a new one the next time.
Yeah.
Why is that? Can you challenge that kind of norm? And he said, let's try to challenge that. I mean, you throw away hundreds of millions of dollars, for every rocket you build. Why not try to reuse them? And then, he started to explore that and said, we can actually build a reusable rocket. And suddenly we have a much more affordable and efficient way of traveling in space.
Yeah.
By, really challenging the norm and looking at the first principle in how to build a certain solution or product or service.
Yeah, and I think we are a little bit awestruck by Elon Musk and trying to pull it down to what is the essence that he's doing over and over again, that right now puts him as the richest man in the world, is a fundamental aggressive view of first principle in anything he does. So when he goes into making car batteries, he basically look at the fundamental physical components of a battery, and this is costing $800, but I see the material is only costing $8. So there needs to be a better way to do this for, 80 instead of 800,
Yeah.
So he basically then, there is no, so he goes down and breaks it down to its core pieces. And we've had this discussion. This is almost taking first principle into the core fundamentals of engineering, right? And then you can talk about first principles from how you look at your core business. So what is the core business of Scania? Oh, we are a truck manufacturer.
Yeah.
But actually, my first principle, I'm a transportation enabler. So if I go down to the core principle of what you use a truck for, it becomes something. It could become something else.
Becomes something else.
Or my business model can become something completely different.
So I that's fairly close to sometimes when I describe the different ways of talking about Horizon 1, 2, and 3, you say, okay, so Henry Ford said that if I'd asked my customers what they wanted, they would want to have a faster horse.
No, a horse that shits less.
Yeah. So and that's a genetic problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I breed a faster horse?
Exactly.
And then he says, but there's another way to do this. I can travel faster if I use a combustion engine. So that's a mechanical problem. Yeah. And why do I want to go from A to B? Because I want to see the person that I'm going to talk to. Well, why not use a video conference then? So then that's a telecommunication problem. So that becomes completely different ways of looking at it.
And ultimately, first principle is extremely powerful. If you're able to understand the core of whatever problem you're solving, you can even leapfrog completely into different industries.
Yes. The job to be done.
The job to be done.
Yeah.
Or how, and here is the point then, to travel this way costs so much. To put on Skype is zero. And if the ultimate was to meet, you could solve it in a completely different way.
Exactly.
And you mentioned Horizon a number of times now, Horizon 1, 2, 3. Can you just describe what you mean with that as well?
Well, That's the, I think, McKinsey principle of the different horizons of it doesn't really have to do with time, but it has to do with degree of transformation. So horizon 1, really incremental.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep doing what you're doing a little bit better all the time. Horizon 3, completely new way of addressing the need you have, maybe unknown to you, saying that, I need to get that horse so I can, but really what you intend to do is something different.
Cool. Can I, before we end with the whole innovation, I mean, it's such an important, and it's one of my passion topics as well. So
fantastic topic.
I think it's so important for so many companies, but there is some idea that innovation happens in small domains or on the side. And just to explain what I mean, some companies focus a lot on let's focus on the mass market. Let's focus on how we can maximize sales for what we have today. And some people would then argue, and I think this goes back to the Kodak moment, if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Kodak was the biggest manufacturer of cameras, analog cameras. They actually had an inventor, I think in the 80s or something, that actually proposed, and I think he was the first time someone actually proposed a digital camera.
But the core revenue was from the film.
Yeah,
and they
3 kilos and a cassette tape.
I think they had KPIs like, what is the resolution? And then they said, if it's not improving the resolution, we're not going to invest in it.
No, and he came there with 128 times 128 pixels.
Exactly. It was horrible in terms of resolution. So the metrics and KPIs they had suggested, said, this type of thing will never break. No one will really be interested in this. We know the mass market want higher resolution. And then, they went bankrupt in 1 year in 2008 or something.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this, that, innovation happened on the side or in the small domains? Or
Oh, that's so. I don't think I can make a one size fits all answer to that. I will stick to saying that it's really hard to transform from the inside. Some organizations are really good at it.
But the core challenge is basically you have to have respect for who the hell disrupts themselves.
Yeah.
Who does that? And from a cultural perspective, we have seen very, very few companies who started like that and who had that. I mean, I think Amazon is one of the core examples that you can touch today.
Yeah.
Who basically, they have reinvented themselves a couple of times now, from a bookstore to a retailer to now something completely different, right? Yeah. How many more examples do we have?
They have almost led the way in that and not really responded to a threat.
No.
So they have created, they are continuing to create.
I mean, so what is impressive with Bezos is that he takes bets of his whole company that now I will do this. It's not because someone else did it, it's because he saw the opportunity. But it's balls like steel, I guess.
Yeah. or just a personality type. Saying that this is...
But for any normal company, I don't have so many examples. So you have so there is a clear hypothesis that for normal deadly people, you need to have, maybe you can try on the inside, but it's not a bad idea to also try on the side.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, at least my opinion is perhaps wrong, saying that any company that focus only on the mass market or the type of clients, customers, partners they have today, and not even considering, the side small domains, target groups, or whatever they have, they will not innovate properly.
No, I agree, but I would twist it a little bit and say that, so if you focus only on the spoken needs, only on the very visible needs that people say, I want a faster horse, and not understanding what is it that you're really trying to achieve. So sort of the core of the design process is what are you really trying to do here? So
you have the wrong KPIs in some way.
You know,
it's not really making the horse faster. You really want to move from one point to another, and that should.
Or I want to see you face to face.
But Anders, I think you also you asked the different questions than what I answered. It's a little bit like. One part is the whole thing, like to focus on the mass and incrementally what the mass is, but you need to focus on the outliers. This is clear. But we kind of also, we answered your question from an organizational point of view, can you organize that someone is looking on the side views from the core mass market team, so to speak? So it's it's actually two topics intertwined here. One is actually that we need to incrementally understand the mass market, so we not completely lose sight of the market, but someone needs to look at the side tracks or the small side offs. Like this is 70-20 this. But then the next layer on that question is who should do that? Can I give that question to the same person, or do I need to give it to my incubator? I don't know. This is hard. And
this is really hard.
And it's not a one answer, for
and
sure.
I will give, it's not one answer. And I'll add a layer in the public sector to that.
Yes, thank you.
As a private company, of course, you can say, okay, I have my incubator here. There's something that works. Good. It seems to be growing. I can either move it into my existing business. Okay, so you stay with parent company. Or you can spin it out and still make money. You can spin it out completely.
You can screw up all the way here. But we had the incubator, that was great. And then it died when I tried to put it down into the dogmatic old ways. So and sometimes it works and sometimes it will never work.
No. But still, the point is that you, as shareholders, and God put man on this earth to create shareholder value. And you can make money either way.
Yes.
Either it works as an entity or you sell it off. But in the public world, in the public sector, that's not your KPI. We are not here to grow to be great. We are here to do things that you really don't want to do, but you have to do because you're a decent society. So healthcare is great. And the better healthcare we provide, the more time you're healthy. And that's what we want to have. We want to have health. We don't want to have ginormous amounts of healthcare. So we really want to be smaller then. And
so the mission statement or the objective that you're starting from gives a completely different outlook.
Yes, it does. So then, of course, we have to be really, really good at what we do. And you can become more and more specialized, which means so you're highly specialized in very narrow specialties. Means that you have to increase your area of collection where you get people from. But we can't sort of build a side incubator hospital. It's just too expensive, and you have to be able to provide healthcare. You have to be a caregiver, which means that you fulfill a hell of a lot of obligations.
So what you're saying is there is a frame here, or there is boundaries or constraints. I don't know if that's the right word even. But in order to work within the public sector, you clearly need to understand the room you're in.
Yeah.
Because the other room doesn't really exist. No,
you have to do your experimentation and find your jobs to be done sort of in your operating machine.
And would you agree that would be equivalently the same problem or the same frame if I go to a municipality?
Yeah.
From their perspective, are they also constrained?
Yeah, well, I work, my wife works in social services. Yeah. So, for example, with violent families or people who need financial support. That's not something we want more of, but you can't take that out of the system and have a small social security incubator somewhere, because it's all interconnected in the existing society system.
But hospitals, to some degree, you can have private hospitals, right?
Yes, you can.
So why, so isn't that a way to do the spin-off? Not maybe for the the public university hospital, but if you want to go down that path, well, basically you go down a private path. Or is that something completely different?
That is different, and you will keep in incremental mostly.
Because you're so focused on your EBIT, so to speak. Yeah. Here.
And you have, the whole thing of innovation is doing something new, adding a creating new value, as you say. You shift your money from A to B, from old to new. That's what happens. And in healthcare, regardless if you're the private or public provider, it's still, in Sweden anyway, it's the public payer
Yes.
that sets the metric. We reimburse you for doing X, Y, and Z.
So they live so from that reason, the private hospital has to live within the same frame and try to make money with the same.
Yeah.
So it's actually not really driving innovation, driving slimming innovation maybe.
If you don't do things that you can bill for, then you won't get any revenue.
Okay,
cool. This is such an interesting topic with, what is innovation and
and how does it work in public sector to have as a different layer on it.